Hello, I'm Velma. Today's video is a short discussion video all about introversion and extroversion in relation to reading. I first started thinking about this when I was reviewing my reading activity for 2017. I read a lot of books last year, well over 90 I think in the end, which was more than I thought. I think I planned for around 75. And although I should have been happy with overachieving this goal, when I reflected back on the year and what I'd hoped to achieve, I felt that the year hadn't been quite as exciting and fulfilled as I would have hoped. And part of that was because my social interaction was much more limited than I felt it had been in previous years. I'd had kind of less parties and social events and kind of what I would consider to be fun activities. Now, I don't think it was a direct correlation between reading more and going out less, but of course, there's only so many hours in the day, and I think at some point I had sacrificed some more external, extroverted, socially based activities to stay in and read. Now, I am an extrovert. I know this to be true. And before I continue, perhaps I should clear up some common misconceptions about extroversion and introversion. I suspect a lot of you may know this, but just for clarity, because there is this social interpretation of the terms as extrovert being somehow loud and more confident as well as outgoing, whereas people tagged as introverts are more often perceived to be shy and withdrawn and less confident, as well as just being a little bit quieter. Of course, I'm talking in the psychological sense of extroversion versus introversion, which is to do with how we gain our energy in the world. So as an extrovert, I do enjoy being with other people. Although that is lessening as I get older, I think, it's a spectrum and we perhaps move a little bit more towards the middle as we get older. I can spend time in my own company now, but as a younger woman, I just couldn't bear it. But I've always felt energised and buzzing by contact with other people. I enjoy parties, I enjoy discussions, lively debates, meeting new friends, and there seems to be no kind of finite point where I've had enough. Of course, often introverts enjoy spending time with people, but they do find that at some point they need to come away and spend some time kind of reflecting and ruminating to build their own battery charge back up. And that is something I rarely feel the need to do. So I know that on a psychological level, I am on the spectrum quite far towards the extrovert end. Which makes me come to the subject of reading. So I think there is a perception that more avid readers are more likely to be introverts. And on a practical level, I guess that's true. Reading is a solitary activity, the very act of reading. So you're more likely to find people who are comfortable in their own company, who for whatever reason spend time in their own rooms reading, than you are the life and soul of the party. But of course, readers come from all over that spectrum, and as an extroverted reader, my experience has always been a little bit different. So, like many of you, I'm sure watching this, I was considered a bookish child. I was a voracious reader. I read my way through the local library. I was always to be found with a book in my hand, but I was very rarely shut away in my own bedroom. We had, like many neighbourhoods, a big group of children who would play out on the road together, but I would take my books with me. So while other kids were kind of zipping up and down the road on their bikes, I'd be sat there with a book. But it was always important to me to be part of the group. So in that sense, I felt like my extroversion comes with me as a book reader. I also love sharing thoughts on books. So when I've finished a good book, I need to go and talk to somebody about it. And hearing somebody else's opinion of the book, or just being satisfied that they've listened to mine, enriches a reading experience for me, which I guess is why I'm here on BookTube. So, is BookTube for introverts or extroverts? Well, of course, it's both. So I think BookTube has a lot to offer the introverted reader because there is social interaction there, and both extroverts and introverts want to make connections with people. That's part of the human condition. But of course, on BookTube, those connections can be measured. So if you are very introverted and you want to engage in discussion with people, but find that you tire easily in big social situations, maybe kind of populist or local book groups aren't for you, then BookTube is the perfect solution, because you can read people's comments, you can think about them, you can reply, and you can engage in interaction that is altogether more comfortable for the very severe introvert. For extroverts, well, we just like talking to as many people as possible, and what a better way than putting videos up of yourself and hoping that lots more people who you don't know will get to hear you talk and maybe start to engage in discussions. When I think of the booktubers I watch, and there are quite a lot of you now, I can think that there are definitely introverted and extroverted booktubers, although there's probably more introverts, yeah, probably more introverts, but definitely some of both, I think. I'm interested, if you're watching this, whether you make your own videos or not, do you think you're an introvert or an extrovert? Where on the spectrum would you put yourself? Maybe you would consider yourself an ambivert, which is somebody that's right in the middle. I think perhaps too many of us would identify as ambiverts. I do genuinely think we have a preference one way or the other, but I'm interested to hear from you. How do you think that affects your reading? Does it affect what you read? I certainly think I gravitate towards novels that have a wider range of characters. I'm more interested in multiple perspectives and relationships rather than one character's kind of introspective journey. Is that because I'm an extrovert? Maybe because I'm more likely to see what I prefer reflected in the pages. I don't know, but interested to hear your thoughts on this anyway. So that's why my plan is to read fewer books this year. I've set my target at 50 and I'm pacing myself as I go. I'm a little bit ahead at the moment, but then nobody likes to socialise in the colder weather, do they? So hopefully I've given myself a little bit of a buffer that during the summer months I'll be out partying and not reading quite so much. Interested to hear from you down below. See you next time. Thank you.